Did you see the train, beta?
How did you know about that?
Hey, welcome to Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in Ms. Marvel, Episode 3. The episode finally gives us our villain, draws battle lines, and it's a kind of origin for Kamala's powers. But I've got a theory about the Bangle and the Jinn, where they came from, and how this ties into Shang Chi, the Legends of the TenRings. That's going to lead into the next big Marvel crossover, and I'm going to go over all of that a little later in the video. We open in British-occupied India in 1942. This is 5 years before India and Pakistan gained independence, and also 5 years before the partition that we heard about in the last episode.
Every Pakistani family has a partition story, and none of them are good.
And this is important because it gives us a clue about what happened to Kamala's grandmother Aisha after she left Nadia here. Later on, Nadia says,
"Why should I protect those who betray me?"
So she thinks that Kamala's grandmother was a traitor. I think this is because Aisha met a humble earthman, fell in love, and did not want to return to her home dimension. We did see a similar story play out with Shang-Chi's mother and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. But first, let's talk about this juicy scene and all of the Easter eggs. So the Jinn are looking for two Bangles. I mentioned this last week, but it could be that the Bangles are the MCU version of the Nega bands. These bands were worn by the original Captain Marvel, and basically they connected him to another dimension called the Negative Zone, where he and a guy named Rick Jones would take turns being trapped there while the other one was on Earth. They also gave him amplified powers, and these are powerful relics from the Kree Empire. So you remember the Kree from Guardians of the Galaxy, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Captain Marvel. The Kree have been visiting Earth for thousands of years. In fact, Peggy Carter takes a Kree body from the Nazis and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, the arm here is blue, like the Kree, which would support the theory that this is a Kree body and that the Bangle is a Kree relic. But I got another theory about who this could be that I'm going to go over just a little bit later in the video. And later I'm also going to go over this Ten Rings Easter egg right here because it all ties together into this theory. Now, before we go on,
Hey, why are you breathing like that?
it's one of my task goals for the day.
You gotta use an app to breathe? I don't get humans, man.
No, it's just a daily reminder to center myself on this happiness trainer app called Fabulous. They're the sponsor of this video. So Fabulous is a digital coach that uses behavioral science to teach me good habits that help me to accomplish my goals.
Well, how does that work?
Oh, it's great. See, the app uses two different approaches. One is called habit tracking. So I started off by saying what I wanted to work on, in this case having more energy in the afternoons. Then I chose daily rituals that help me to achieve those goals. It starts off tracking little habits like drinking water every morning and taking a breath, and then we added other tasks like taking vitamins, tidying up, things like that. And there are several different ones to choose from. Now the second approach is called dedicated programs, which is based on behavioral science and allows you to experience your best well-being goals. This is like a personal journey where your good behavior unlocks new letters that guide the process and add a new positive action that becomes part of your daily routine.
So it's like a video game, but you are able to level up yourself.
Yes, exactly. Fabulous makes it fun to accomplish your goals and improve your life. So I recommend you give it a try and start building your daily routine. The first 100 people who click the link in the description will get 25% off a Fabulous daily subscription. And then Nadia gives us a few answers about who they are. She says they were from another dimension and they were exiled. Now the episode gives us a pretty great explanation of the Jinn.
Supernatural beings of pre-Islamic folklore. Some call them genies, others demons.
They are a certain kind of spirit in Islam, similar to an angel that can take the form of an animal or a human. And actually, the Jinn were first mentioned here in episode 1.
You want me to turn off the lights, or are you still afraid of the Jinn?
And she also gives other names that they have been called. For instance, the Unseen. Now, there was a group of aliens called the Unseen in Marvel Comics in the 1950s, and they attacked like capitalist countries in the world. This was also a code name that Nick Fury adopted for a while, and chances are Nick Fury is going to meet Kamala in the movie The Marvels. Now, she also says that they call themselves the Clandestine. In the comics, in the 90s, this is a group of supervillains. So you could say that this is a version of that team. In fact, one of those members was a Jinn. Here, the difference is they're all Jinns, they happen to be from another reality. And they reveal the source of their powers called the Noor. Now, Noor is a common Arabic word meaning light, but they spin this into a new concept as energy forms from another dimension. None of them were able to use the Bangle, but Kamala could. And this is a metaphor for the experience of the American immigrant. Later in the episode, her mother talks about how hard it was when they moved to America.
I tell you, I've never felt so alone in my whole life.
Her mother never truly fit into Western American culture, but her daughter, Kamala, does. So, just like the Jinn needs someone who is half from Earth to return home, Kamala's parents need a daughter who's from America so they can make a home. This series is rooted in themes of family and community, whether they be friendships, family, religion, or your interdimensional cousins who want to eat your brain or whatever. She also hints that someday Kamran's abilities will manifest.
That bangle helps you unlock the Noor. Maybe one day, something will do the same for him.
And in the comics, his superpower is bioluminescence. So here, it looks like the Noor, or the light, will be his power as well. And by the way, this guy is watching Zoe's popcorn video that we heard about from Damage Control.
Popcorn. That video that you made about low-calorie popcorn.
Then we go to the opening titles, which are a lot of fun to look at in freeze frames. There are lots of South Asian designs, several eyes, like Kamala's necklace, which is the evil eye, traditionally used to ward off evil. There's also her sketch of Captain Marvel, Hulk, Iron Man, and Ant-Man, except Ant-Man has large fists like she creates for herself in the comics. There's also a craft board, like the one she would use to create her YouTube videos, and a sketch of her and Kamran. In Bruno's room, he has a poster of Nikola Tesla, the engineer who was a contemporary rival of Thomas Edison. And Thomas Edison was one of Ms. Marvel's original villains, except he had the head of a cockatoo. I love those comics. When they're talking about alternate dimensions, Bruno name drops.
I think it's by Dr. Eric Selvig.
So, Eric Selvig, you guys know him. He was the scientist who worked with Jane Foster, was later recruited by S.H.I.E.L.D., mind-controlled by Loki, and briefly went insane.
I've had a god in my brain.
Last time we saw Selvig, he was back on his feet as a professor and appeared in a Neil deGrasse Tyson-esque documentary on Einstein-Rosen bridges, as we saw here in Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, Selvig's experience is primarily in wormholes like the Bifrost, but his chalkboard also hinted at the multiverse. Right here we have 616 universe, and remember, that is the number designation for the MCU.
Our universe is 838, and we've designated yours 616.
And over here he mentions the crossroads. That could be another name for the gap junction, the dimensional hub that we saw in Multiverse of Madness. So, Selvig was already theorizing on how travel between dimensional planes could be possible.
So does this mean that the Jinn are from the multiverse?
Could be. I'll talk about that later in the video. Next we go to Damage Control, entering the mosque, where Agent Deaver is wearing shoes, against Agent Cleary's directive.
Just be respectful.
She says they're looking for an enhanced individual, the same term that we heard Cap use in Age of Ultron.
We have an enhance in the field.
Now Kia stands up to them, and actually probably assured herself election to the mosque board by doing so. Kamala has a poster of Brie Larson as Captain Marvel right here that I believe is a promo photo from the first movie. Side note, you ever see this Jodie Foster holding a lamb in this weird promo photo for Silence of the Lambs?
What's that got to do with anything?
Nothing, I just show that off whenever I can. And this poster of Captain Marvel is actually a comic book page that has been hung on its side. So this scene is crucial because it's where Kamala realizes that her being a hero could actually hurt her community and the people she loves.
An armed government agency came into the mosque today.
What?
They stormed right in thinking that we had something on her.
She's hit that same wall that Peter did in No Way Home. He loves being Spider-Man at first, but then his identity starts to hurt the other people in his life and he sees it as a burden.
Nightlight, which is a dumb name, by the way.
This whole scene with Nakia also mirrors the comics, where she had a bad impression of Ms. Marvel at the start of the series. So then, her and Kamran are texting, and you'll notice that they've abandoned the really cool blending of texting and production design that we saw in past episodes. See, I think this happened for two reasons. One, because these sentences are really long and harder to spell out in the environment. But two, Kamala is not seeing the world through that same fantastical childlike lens. She has observed the consequences of her powers and she's taking everything more seriously. And then we see the Mendi ceremony. Now Mendi is henna artwork. That's this beautiful, intricate artwork drawn on the bride's skin the day of the wedding. Her relatives also have Mendi applied, but not nearly as intricate. This is traditional in most Desi weddings. When Kamala goes outside for some air, we can see the girls practicing their dance for the wedding. Very cute. So Kamala is now at a crossroads, and this is the point of the episode. It's the midpoint of the series. She thought that being a hero would be awesome, but having two identities just complicates her life. She soon gets great advice from the leader of their mosque.
Good. It's not a thing you are, Kamala. It is a thing you do.
Which I think only makes Kamala the third MCU hero to seek the advice of a religious leader. First Daredevil, and then Cersei in the Eternals. When she goes to see Bruno for help, she's wearing an Iron Man shirt, and as always, she has on her Carol Danvers replica jacket with the Captain Marvel patch right here. And, anyone else have a craving for Doritos right now? I sure could go for some tasty Doritos, and I don't know why.
It's like people only do things because they get paid.
Kamala is ready to stop being a hero, again, following a similar arc to Peter Parker in Far From Home. And of course, she name drops Carol Danvers.
Carol Danvers went away.
And she talks about punching a hole portal through reality, and we just met another hero who does the same thing. Which makes me think it's only a matter of time before these two kids share the screen together. Gonna talk about that later on. And Bruno says they will need a super big power source to send the Jinn home. I'm actually wondering if that power source could turn out to be Carol Danvers showing up in the finale of this show. I mean, probably not, because that might take away from Kamala's story, but you never know. And then it would be a nice lead into the movie The Marvels. And then we see that Bruno used his airbrushing skills to make her a new suit, which I'm sure we're gonna see in episode 6. On to Amir's wedding day, where he tells his father how he's worried about money. Now, this is a plot point taken from the comics, where there was a lot of tension between him and his wife's family because he didn't have a job. His dad tells him,
Junoon. Passion.
Now, here, Junoon is translated as passion, but in Urdu, it can also mean insanity or an obsession. So I'm wondering if eventually Kamala will find a different kind of Junoon, other than this regulated passion. At the wedding, we heard 2 songs. The first dance song is called Yamira Dil Yar Ke Dewana from the Bollywood movie Dawn. It's an intense love song, and the intro to Yamira Dil was sampled by the Black Eyed Peas for the song Don't Funk With My Heart. Then they do this awesome Bollywood-style dance number to the song Hadipa by Pritam. It's a Punjabi song from the movie Dil Bol Hadipa, and the word Hadipa means hooray. The song is about easing your tensions and finding your courage. The lyrics are interesting since the wording has, this world is like the Westerner's troubles. Tension is the root cause of all sadness. Tension is taken by those who are good for nothing. Now, the concept of Westerner's troubles is a nod to Kamala's mixed cultural background of West and East. She is having all of this tension because of expectations that she has to meet, but she can only be free if she finds the courage to be who she really is. You could also apply this to her relationship with the Jinn, and they're putting pressure on her to do what they want. And the bride's brother Gabe is wearing the Hawk Salwar from episode 1. These pre-choreographed elaborate dances are staples in Desi weddings. Notice that Kamala is doing the Batusi, mixing her traditional cultural dance with a Western superhero tradition, kind of the point of the character. And the band is a Bon Jovi cover band called Brown Jovi, because Jersey.
Don't question my love for the Captain Kid. If it wasn't for Slippery When Wet, your father and I may never have met.
And later, we do get the song Living on a Prayer, which is a perfect choice for this show. And then the Jinn crash the party. Now, in the comics, it was a giant version of a Kamala golem thing that destroyed Amir's engagement party instead of the actual wedding. Now, during the fight, she's pretty defensive until Bruno is in trouble. And then she embiggens a giant fist, which she frequently does in the comics. Now, Kamran working for the villains was also taken from the comics, where he worked for a villain called Lineage. And this bad guy Adam uses a blunt mace for a weapon like the one used by the Hindu god Hanuman. Then Damage Control show up with their repulsor cannons, which makes sense because Tony Stark helped found the organization.
So now the assholes who made this mess are getting paid to clean it up.
Yeah, it's all rigged.
And he probably designed these cannons specifically for them. Notice they're wearing the same DODC jackets that we saw in Spider-Man No Way Home. The end credits song is appropriately called For Aisha from a movie called The Sky is Pink. Now, the movie is based on the true story of Aisha Chaudhary, who suffered from a severe combination of immunodeficiency and pulmonary fibrosis. So the name refers to both the movie and to Kamala's great-grandmother's love for her family. The lyrics here are, we both know I've been here all along, so don't worry when I'm gone, worry when I'm gone. I mean, it seems poignant. I mean, maybe Aisha has been with Kamala all along, leading her on a path to helping her people. It's also interesting that Sana also saw the vision of the train.
Because I saw it too, which is why you have to come.
Remember, her mother used the bangle to show her a trail of stars that led her to her father during the partition.
Sana always said that she followed a trail of stars.
Right back to her.
Even possible that she watched Nadia kill her mother because she wanted to go off and start a family instead of returning home. But I'm sure all that's going to be revealed in the next episode. So now let's talk about the source of the bangle and how it connects to the blue person and the next big crossover in the MCU. First of all, earlier I assumed that the bangle was on a Kree arm. This would make sense. I mean, after all, Kamala is going to appear in the Marvels and the Kree are one of Carol Danvers' main antagonists. But what if instead this is the arm of one of the Jinn? Jinn are the source of the myth about genies, and genies are often portrayed as having blue skin.
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck.
Or this could be a Hindu god, like Vishnu. In the same way that as Guardians travel to Earth from space, maybe Hindu gods are also visitors from other worlds or other dimensions. Hell, I mean, maybe this god was even killed by Gore the God Butcher, the villain from Thor Love and Thunder. Any of these theories could be true, but there's actually a huge Easter egg that points us in the right direction. The symbol on the floor of this room is of the 10 rings. Now, you'll remember from Shang Chi that Wen Wu was a warlord who used the rings in battle hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. The rings not only gave him an army, but also a religion of people who were fanatically devoted to him. So it would make sense that there would be a temple or a shrine to these rings. But you have to admit, the Bangle also seems to glow a lot like the 10 rings. And remember, the rings only glowed like this when they were used by somebody from Earth, just like Kamala is from Earth. Maybe the 10 rings could even be the other Bangle that they're looking for.
He said we would need 2.
And I think the rings are key to what the next big crossover threat is in the MCU. So for instance, it was interesting that the people of Ta Lo were able to take command of the rings so easily in a fight. Now you'll remember from Shang Chi that there is a hidden community of people from another dimension who live in a land called Ta Lo, and their job is to guard this dimension from a giant demon dragon. It's interesting that the people of Ta Lo are so easily able to command the 10 rings in a fight. This makes me think that the ring's energy is actually linked to the home dimension of the people from Ta Lo. So you remember, the people from Ta Lo, like the Jinn, are from another dimension, and they came here to protect our world from that big scary demon dragon. And remember, the 10 rings are completely new objects. Wong, Captain Marvel, and Bruce Banner all confirm that this is like no magic, no space science, or earth science they have ever seen.
They're not vibranium. Chitauri?
Not like any alien tech I've seen.
And I think this is because the Jinn are actually the same species as the people of Ta Lo, except they were outcast from their dimension and the people of Ta Lo came here voluntarily. And both groups who had people who decided to abandon their race and start a family with someone from Earth.
Wait, another dimension? Does that mean they're from the multiverse? Like Multiverse of Madness?
Well, it could be, Doug. See, the multiverse simply means another universe, another reality. So, the dark dimension, all those freaky realms from Doctor Strange, and the weird universes that we saw in Multiverse of Madness, those are all part of the multiverse. So, a soul-sucking demon dragon dimension, the Jinn dimension, the Ta Lo dimension, yeah, they're part of the multiverse. Add into that we have these theories from Eric Selvig all pointing us toward the next big crossover crisis, an incursion. So, we heard about incursions in the Multiverse of Madness. It's when someone would dreamwalk in another reality and cause that reality to collide, destroying both universes.
Everyone in that reality died. Everyone.
And the movie ends with him and Clea running off to stop more incursions.
You caused an incursion, and we're gonna fix it.
Now, we've said dozens of times that this is probably leading up to a mega crossover event called Secret Wars where the heroes all fight Kang the Conqueror. But I think this is going to tie in heavily with Kamala's super team, the Young Avengers. The Young Avengers are getting started all across the MCU, and in the comics, one of their first villains was Kang the Conqueror. So, before Kang can terrorize the whole multiverse, he's going to have to face the Young Avengers. We have America Chavez, who can punch holes in different universes, and Kamala Khan, whose powers come from another reality. Plus, there's Kid Loki, who's a variant of Loki who was pruned by the TVA. It actually wouldn't surprise me at all if TVA Loki was the one who brought this group together from throughout the multiverse, just like he brought together the original Avengers, except now he's like the Nick Fury character, using all of them to stop Kang. But that's just my theory. Let me know your thoughts on the episode down in the comments below, or you can @ me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.